Hello and welcome. We are very excited to be worshiping together as a presbytery this upcoming Thursday, and I hope that you will be able to join us. Not only will we get to hear from former moderator Rick Ufford Chase, but we are going to have a time when we are gathering around the Lord's table together virtually. Now, because some of us have been doing this in some different ways regularly since we've had to distance because of COVID, and other of us may not have had the opportunity to participate in communion since back in March even. We thought we'd have a little bit of time here to talk about the ways in which you might prepare your hearts and prepare your space to partake in communion together. So, one of the things this is my dining room table. Maybe you will be at your dining room table. Maybe you will be in your living room by a TV or in your office. One of the things that I like to think about as I enter into worship is creating a worshipful space and having that intent as I go into that. Even though this is a place where my family gathers and has all sorts of craziness happen, but for a moment, this is holy space. So I think of it whenever I am going to partake in communion online as if how would I welcome a guest, welcome Christ to my table. So I happen to have a little tablecloth out, but the things that you will need, or maybe I suggest to you, I should say, is generally as I enter into worshipful space to mark that time and to remember Christ's presence. And this is also something that we do at First Presbyterian in Cedar Rapids. We light the Christ candle at the beginning of worship. So you can grab a candle. This is off the dining room table. You could light a candle. You could, if you have, a jar candle around your house, maybe, that's fine. If you have a battery operated candle, you could flick that on. Just something to sort of mark this space and time as a time set apart to be with one another and with God in a special way. Some of the mechanics, you will need to have your own elements, and I encourage you to put them together before we begin worship. So as we move into the time of communion, you're like, oh my goodness, I've got to go get some bread, and you have to run out to the kitchen and grab something. So the things that you would need would be a plate and a cup. There's some different things to think about. Maybe you pull out, because this is a special time, you pull out a piece of your fancy dishes and your fancy glass. This one happens to be a little wine glass that I have. Another thing that I've done sometimes is I will choose a particular piece. So this is something that was handed down to me by my great aunt. So this I think is going to be tomorrow, as I'm thinking about who we are connected with around the table. My great aunt's cup and saucer. So that I will use that as my plate and cup. Or again, it doesn't need to be fancy. It's more about the intention, but maybe it's your everyday plate and your juice glass. And that's fine. We just need something to place your bread and juice in. Speaking of bread, maybe it's some bread you have around the house, part of a loaf. Maybe it's a bun you're pulling out of your bag of buns there. Maybe all you have around your house to celebrate are some crackers. I've used rice cakes, tortillas, just a bread type stuff. I think I've heard people using, like a little bit of rice, whatever kind of thing you would like to represent the bread. And you can put that on your plate. Some people put their juice, water, wine, whatever kind of liquid you will be using. Sometimes they put it right in the cup itself. I usually like to have a little pouring thing so I can pour along. And it could be that's a creamer, or I've got a little jar that I'll put a little something liquid in there and use that as one of the elements. So again, all of this is really accessible, and what will happen is you will have this set up before worship, and then you will be led through, and we will be saying the prayers just as if we would be in worship together in a common space in a sanctuary, but instead we will be all together online, but in our own spaces that we have made holy for this time. Again, very hopeful that you are able to join us in worship this Thursday as a presbytery, as we talk about the ways in which we care for one another and we are united together in Christ. Blessings upon you. Have a great day.